Hi, I'm Suneet Mittal for Heart Rhythm TV, and I'm joined today by Priya Abani, CEO of AliveCor, for a segment from HRX 2023. Welcome, Priya.
Thank you so much.
So I've had the great pleasure of hearing you on a bunch of panels today, and I think our audience would first of all like to hear from you as to what brought you to AliveCor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the panels. I came to AliveCore about 4 years back, and I came from Amazon. I was running Alexa voice services there, and I came across AliveCore's mission of transforming cardiology and providing affordable and accessible heart care to anybody in the world, and I was really inspired. And I had gone through a personal event with my own dad's illness and unfortunately death that followed right after that. And I just thought to myself that if I can go to a healthcare company and do anything in this lifetime that will help save somebody else's family member, I should go ahead and do it. So that's why I came.
Fantastic. And, you know, one of the themes that has been a consistent theme at this meeting is whether digital technologies are narrowing or widening the disparities of care related to a variety of issues. And one of the things that struck me is that this is a topic area you seem very passionate about. So could you maybe talk a little bit about why you're so passionate about this and how do you think about that topic as you run a company like AliveCor?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I think healthcare is a basic human right, and as a country and as people who have access to all these resources, when we think about health equity and we think about the distribution of wealth and power and prestige, it automatically translates into who has access to resources and who does not. And the fact that we're sitting on all these advanced technological, basically these kinds of devices and these kind of services, and the fact that there might be somebody in some part of our country, in some zip codes, or in the rest of the world who can get access to this technology and help monitor their life, give them peace of mind, help save a life, like that, I'm very passionate about that. And I think the entire company, every employee at AliveCore has come together with that mission that we basically level the playing field and we think of every single life as to be as important as our lives here, and we provide these technologies at an affordable price point to everybody who needs it.
Great. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about this whole issue of using technology like you have for management of atrial fibrillation. And the first thing I'll ask is your thoughts about the smartphone. And specifically what I want to talk about is that, smartphone on the one hand is perceived as a relatively expensive piece of equipment. Yet when I go across country, including in India, almost everyone seems to have a smartphone these days, that is internet connected. So are we beyond the point where the smartphone itself is a source of disparity, or are we ready to move on and say this is ubiquitous enough that we can build on something beyond that?
I think, to your point, it is ubiquitous enough where the realm of people that we work with or we have access to, we see everybody having a smartphone. Now, 60% of our customers use an iPhone, 40% of them use Android. And then in Android, as we all know, there is 40 different flavors of operating systems. So on our webpage, we are constantly updating all the different, versions that we support as a company, because we keep getting inbound reports and, people from parts of India, parts of China, parts of Africa who do not have the standard, the most latest devices. So I do think smartphones have become ubiquitous, and if not there, will definitely become ubiquitous in the next 10 years. I think of a smartphone more as a display device, right? And at some point, hopefully, we will have enough features that we can integrate within the phone itself. But for right now, there is enough devices and sensors that are sitting outside of the smartphone, right? Including the devices that we build, including so many smartwatches that people are wearing, which then the data or the application that sits on the smartphone has become the default that people will go to for health. So I think it's very exciting, to be honest, to have this computing power in our hands, and then we can supplement all the sensors around it as long as all the data can be seen at the same time.
Great. So now I'd like to ask you a question about atrial fibrillation, which is, of course, an entity important to you and
Yes.
certainly something that in my day-to-day practices as an electrophysiologist is very important. Now, I think of AFib as a diagnosis that requires an ECG. It's an ECG diagnosis. It doesn't matter whether it's the patient in the US, in Canada, India, it doesn't matter. The ECG is the ECG and the diagnosis of AFib is AFib. Now, some technologies allow you to actually capture an EKG. They're often a little bit more expensive than other technologies like PPG, which is often used as a surrogate
Yes.
of AFib, but not as good, in my opinion, as an ECG. And so the question is, how do we get around that issue? Is there not some inherent disparity if somebody is having to rely only on PPG data to detect AFib versus actually getting an EKG data? How can we, scale this so that every patient can actually acquire an ECG without thinking about the incremental cost of being able to do so?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. I think there's a two-part answer. One is what we're doing as a company, and then I'll tell you what I think where the industry should go. So what we're doing as a company right now is all of our products, the single lead product, the 6-lead product, and we have a credit card format now, are basically using EKG as an event monitor. So you basically put your fingers on the product, you take your EKG, there is a cloud-based AI that determines whether you have AFib or not. So it's going back to what you said. It's using EKG as the primary tool. For continuous monitoring, though, you can do that with an event monitor, but there is a benefit of using something like PPG to be continuously monitoring different sensors as well. So the answer to your question is that, yes, let's try to make EKG as ubiquitous as we can. We also have an IP licensing business where we basically, even if it's somebody else's device and they want to add EKG in it, we obviously offer our IP to them, right? But I think PPG, and this is now my personal opinion, because of the continual aspect of it, at some point when there is enough investment in the AI, there might be something that we might determine as an industry where having PPG might yield slightly better results. I don't think we're there yet to make that determination.
So it may be really not mutually exclusive. They may be complementary
Exactly.
in the same patient to really optimize their care.
Exactly. And so we remain open-minded to all different technologies, but to my point and to your point, right now we are focused on EKG and just making sure that we get that to the highest level of sensitivity and specificity so that there is, the patient is completely safe. But I think in the future, there is something to evaluate with PPGs as well.
Well, fantastic. Well, Priya, thank you very much for spending a few minutes with me. I think it's been really great to meet you and hear all of your thoughts at HRX 2023, and we look forward to following the great work from your company. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.